Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about the most brutal finale in Love is Blind history.
Though, in a way, it was perhaps the happiest ending we could have gotten.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to say about the most successful finale in Love is Blind history because, for once, all of the couples that we wanted to break up did break up.
And frankly, we love that for all of them as individuals.
We're here today to discuss episode 12 of season 9 of Love is Blind, the finale, the wedding episode, and it's unlike any wedding episode of Love is Blind we've ever had.
Truly a Love is Blind first. This is a historic season.
I mean, it kind of like seems to go to prove the concept of entropy. Like every season, the concept breaks down more and more. And finally, this season, it's just,
It collapsed upon
it
itself.
collapsed.
A little housekeeping before we get into the finale, and also some gossip because these cast members have been out here doing interviews. We released an episode about Diane Keaton and the 1987 movie Baby Boom over on Rich Text. It was such a lovely conversation. Also, an episode about season 2 of Nobody Wants This will be coming at the end of this week, also on Rich Text. You can find those episodes at claireandemma.substack.com. Also, just a little reminder, we are on YouTube. So if you ever want to see our beautiful faces or see the interview that we did with Kate and Madison and want to see their beautiful faces, you can check that out over on our Love to See It YouTube.
Yeah, step inside my storage closet /
And my bedroom.
Yeah, come join us. So let's dive in with some news and gossip just to kind of like catch us all up on what's been going on off screen. There have been a lot of podcast interviews, a lot of tea being spilled. Obviously, we had a lot of fun with Madison and Kate last week, but they're not the only ones who are out here. Joe, for example, has a girlfriend who went on a podcast. Why isn't Joe going on his own podcast and doing this stuff? Like he's sending his girlfriend out to do his PR.
I guess Joe, I have seen him do like a couple written interviews with some like magazines.
Maybe he's on his own podcast talking about it. I refuse to listen to his podcast.
Sorry, yeah. Look, there are a lot of podcasts out there, and that's just my one wild and precious life is just simply not going to be spent listening to Joe's podcast. But I wish him well in his endeavors over there.
I mean, if I'm going to listen to a man's podcast, I need to be really strongly convinced. And this just isn't meeting the bar.
This is not it. So Joe's girlfriend, Avery, his girlfriend of about a year, went on the Reality Receipts podcast with Reality Ashley and Storytime with Ricky. They just do the Lord's work over there. And they have said, they in general do not get thrown a lot of PR bones from Kinetic. They are in the spoiler business, so that tends to happen. And so they were like, this is our way in, basically.
Honestly, yeah, that's kind of brilliant.
Yeah, Avery does not have an NDA.
Right. And so Avery met Joe in June 2024 at her friend's birthday party. They started dating in November of 2024. So a little bit after filming had wrapped up.
Yeah, filming wrapped up, I believe, in March. So this was a good number of months later. Also, it seems like there is this very tight-knit social circle that a lot of the Love is Blind cast members are involved in. So Avery was friends with Kate for a few years before filming, and one of their mutual best friends started dating this guy, Dylan, who was on Love is Blind, but he was like not one of the featured people. I didn't even recognize him when I looked up his photo, but he is then who brought Joe into the fold. Also, because Kate and Madison are so close, Avery had met Madison and sees Madison is in passing within this social group. So it all just seems very intertwined. I also heard a rumor that another one of these best friends is now dating Brendan.
Okay. So they're all listen, now it's all a big singles mixer. Good for
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
Um,
Good for them.
so on the podcast, I guess she talked about how Joe has done a lot of growing up since they started dating, which is great to hear. She also reveals that he did go on a handful of dates with Casey a couple months after filming, which is interesting because one of the things that Madison said in our podcast interview with her is that she saw Casey apparently like hitting on Joe while they were engaged shortly before she and Joe broke up. She looked across the room at some sort of social gathering at a bar and saw Casey kind of like all over Joe, making googly eyes at him as he put it. And it did come to pass down the line that he and Casey did date a little bit.
Yes. And Avery says that she is not a Casey fan. At one point, she says, like, one thing that Madison and I agree about is that Casey is not a good person, which is intense. She is, in general, was like very gentle about Madison, defensive of her partner, which fair enough, but also it seems like she and Madison are totally cordial and they have these like mutual friends. But she says that Casey burned a lot of bridges in this friend group. As I said, the friend group is very intertwined with Love is Blind cast members. And she described Casey as having energy that is, quote, very male focused. She also said that Joe getting a girlfriend did not stop Casey from trying to get involved with Joe.
Yeah, she said that Casey would call or text Joe every weekend, even after he started dating Avery.
Meanwhile, Avery also said that at this point in time, Casey was like trying hard to befriend her. They met at a pool party, and
Mhm.
Casey is saying, like, you're so amazing. I love you and Joe together. No hard feelings. Like, you seem so wonderful. And then she apparently left this party, and within like 5 to 10 minutes after leaving, she got a call saying Casey is trying to crawl into Joe's lap. And she also says, like, every time one of these things would happen, Joe would tell her about it.
Yeah.
Like, it was not, it was not like a secret because she and Joe seem very good. So
Mhm.
that's rough.
I mean, it does just like it's rough. I mean, it's sad. It just does kind of track with her pattern of behavior on the show, whereas we talked about many times, it seems like she is accustomed to kind of validating herself by
Yeah.
using her sexuality and her looks and her flirtation to like get male attention. And I mean, it just sounds like all of a piece with that. So, yeah, that's
Yeah.
tough.
It's tough, and it's tough that this opinion of Casey seems to be held by like a lot of different members of the cast and different members of this social
Yeah, I
group.
am curious if she, like, made any female friends from the show, because often we'll see, like, maybe a couple cliques, maybe a big clique and a small clique, but I'm not really aware of anyone that's friends with Casey.
Maybe some of the women who were not
Yeah,
featured, that's very possible.
yeah, I'm curious. Um, we also learned a little bit more about Joe from a deleted scene that Netflix released. We learned that, as he told Madison in the pods, he was only 8 months out from his broken engagement when he went on Love is Blind.
That to me really put things in perspective. I was like, "Oh, Joe just truly probably was not ready
That's
for an
just wild to
experience like
me that,
this."
like, you would come out of this experience where you found yourself getting, like, carried along into a marriage that you didn't wanna be in, and you get out of that situation, and a few months later, you're like, "I really think that I wanna just put myself in a high pressure situation where I will probably end up getting married quickly."
An instant marriage show, that's the
Hmm.
right path for me. Yeah, seems to me that maybe Joe needed a bit more space.
Right, you need to, like, reflect on how you ended up in a situation where you almost married someone that you were miserable with. Like, think
Right.
about how you're making these decisions. Um, we also got a little more, about Annie from Storytime with Ricky. This was kind
Yeah.
of a bummer.
This is a bummer. So I will say that I had seen some comments from someone who alleged that they were Annie's ex floating around, like
Mm,
TikTok. And I know that this person had reached out to multiple podcasters. So I think before Ricky really looked into it and did that like journalistic work of confirming some of his claims, I was a little bit like, I'm going to hold this lightly. It always raises question marks for me when you see someone who's reportedly an ex like trying to shop a story around about someone who's on a reality show.
mhm.
Um but yeah, unfortunately, it seems like some of the claims that he is making are backed up by documentation. So I felt like now was like a good time for us to discuss this story.
Yeah. I still, I feel a little uncomfortable, to be honest, talking about it because, it is such a sort of a sad story,
Yeah.
but he basically shared a little bit about what he kind of describes as maybe a sort of problematic history with drinking. He says that she was on probation for a DUI when they met, and that is what, Ricky seems to have some court documents, verifying,
Yeah, he had claimed
and
that she was wearing an ankle monitor, and Ricky found some information about that.
he also, I mean, and this to me was more directly relevant to what we saw. He's basically told her that the problematic behaviors that we saw with Nick constantly saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, but in a sort of combative way, questioning how much her partner loved her, picking fights about that, those were familiar to him from their relationship. Um, So, and I think a lot of people we talked about how she's often drunk during these conversations or appeared
Yeah.
to be drunk. So maybe that's relevant as well. Like, as a side note, it does just seem like an unusual number of the main cast members this season have overtly troubling relationships with alcohol. And we can't say more than that what's going on there, but it seems to be affecting the storylines pretty noticeably in more than one or two of the relationships.
Yeah, and I will say I saw people, questioning online like, are these people being like forced to binge
Mm,
drink? And I saw that like Zach Goitowski from Seattle did, I believe it was Zach, responded to one of the comments just being like, hey, FYI, in my experience, like, no, like those gold goblets contain like water, like you can drink water, orange juice, like anything out of those cups. Like it doesn't necessarily mean that every one of those drinks is an alcoholic drink. So it does seem like there is a standout quality to that behavior among this cast that was not necessarily present in other
yeah.
casts.
I do think that, there can be a question about the ethics of making it as available as it seems to
For
be,
sure.
which, as we've discussed, The Bachelor has certainly had to reckon with, and maybe Love is Blind hasn't. But it's also true that they've made 9 seasons of this show, and most seasons, this doesn't really come up, or it only comes up once. It's
Right, or in a more limited capacity.
right. So putting all of that aside, and I do feel bad sometimes, dragging in people's past mistakes to the conversation.
Yeah, and
Um,
it is always important to remember that, like, it doesn't make you a bad person to have made mistakes or experienced consequences within the justice system for those mistakes. So, I never wanna, like, wholesale demonize someone, but as you said, it does feel at least a bit, relevant to some of the behaviors that
yeah.
we saw.
And it also does, I'm sorry, it does raise questions about the screening that was done. I think that when
Yeah.
men on the show have, histories that are documented within the justice system, we're like, why are they on the show?
Yeah, I will also say
It
that
does
there
raise some
was
questions.
there was a claim that this guy made that Annie had allegedly taken his ID to
Mhm.
try and get access to his phone records and that the police had been called on her as a result. There was a temporary, according to him, there was a temporary restraining order granted, but it was like mutually dropped on
Mm,
both sides, and so that wouldn't have necessarily come up in, like, a background check, like, you would have seen a DUI, but I understand why that wouldn't necessarily be, like, grounds to not cast someone, whereas a temporary like, a restraining order would, I think, be more grounds to not cast someone on, a dating show, but if it's just temporary and the restraining order isn't ultimately granted, a normal background check might not surface it. Ricky did
right.
request, I believe, the arrest record, which is how she confirmed that there was an arrest made for using someone else's identification.
Okay. Um, yeah, so it's a little concerning. I also was like, justice for Nick. Like, were we too hard on him? I feel
I
like I was
know.
definitely easier on Annie than most of the
Same.
commentators I saw. I think I was really focused on Nick's bad behavior in the pods, and I was like, we know that he has this like tendency to sort of use love bombing to like lock people down, and then he starts to pull away when he's not getting what he wants. He makes them feel a little crazy. He turns on them. And so I attributed a lot of her behavior as reaction to something that he was putting down. But it also seems like specifically a pattern she has. And so maybe it just like had nothing to do with his behavior.
Right. And this is the thing with when we're analyzing any of these shows, like we all have limited information and there are maybe going to be certain people's behaviors that like stick into us
Mhm.
in a way that makes us sympathetic or less sympathetic to them. And yeah, I do think although I believe that we were critical of
Yeah.
Annie's actions, I do think maybe we were easier on her than I don't know, maybe easier than perhaps was earned. It's again hard to fully know what is happening within any relationship, even when it's partially documented on television.
Right.
But
I
it
mean,
definitely raises questions for me.
mhm.
And I also will say that, like, in the aftermath of this, um, like, I listened to Annie's interview on the Vile Files, and I do think that, like, Nick has, from what I've seen, been handling the fallout from this, like, perhaps a bit better than Annie has.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm still biased against Nick maybe, but I don't wanna make the same mistake twice. I don't wanna be like, "Well, Annie has a pattern, so she's the problem. I thought Nick had a pattern, so he was the problem."
They
But one
might
of the
just both have patterns of not great behavior.
yeah,
That's
I mean,
probably the most logical answer.
one of the first things we said about them as a couple is they're both kind of toxic in ways that are similar and attract each other, and I think we just need
Yeah.
to go back to that. It kind of seems like they were both enacting some sort of pattern. I don't
And I
know.
stand by our conclusion, which is just that they were not the right match. They are both going
Yeah.
to be better off not entangled in that relationship. So,
Yeah, I wish everyone healing and better in the future. One of the other things we wanted to discuss was kind of the media reaction to our interview with Madison. This isn't something we say a
yes.
lot. We very rarely like do interviews that get media pickup, but um I was really thrown by the fact that one of the big takeaways that a lot of podcasts and like outlets had was that she had kind of let slip to us that their breakup was staged or like refilmed.
This was so bizarre to me
I
that this
actually
was the
feel
takeaway.
I feel like I'm losing it a little bit because neither of us like felt that there was anything surprising about what how she described the breakup, except that she said that it happened later than we thought off
Right,
camera.
we assumed we knew that something had happened off camera because she literally says in her confessional that after the tux fitting, sometime after the tux fitting and presumably before they were filming, he had told her that she wasn't his person and that if he
Right.
went to the altar, he would say no. Like that was said.
Yeah, just because I was feeling like I was in an
Crazy.
alternate reality, I did get the opening of our notes from that post tux fitting scene of Joe and Madison at their apartment. And the first thing that we wrote is Madison is sitting on the floor of the apartment crying on the phone with someone saying Joe left. In a confessional, she says Joe told her that during his tux fitting, he had a breakdown and felt completely detached. He told her, "You're not my person," and that if they went to the altar, he would say no. Then he comes
So,
in.
yeah.
She's like, "I slept a little bit." They hug, they sit down, they talk about the breakup. I thought that that was kind of in the text of the show. Um,
Right.
that it was clear that they had already broken up and they're kind of having their on-camera conversation about the breakup. Their kind of postmortem is being done for the cameras. And so many outlets were like, she reveals that it was staged. And I was like, I thought that it was clear
Also,
in the show that it wasn't that the
it's
actual
not
first conversation they had about
staged.
it.
It's not staged if you are just, like, continuing to gain closure and you are, like, packing up the apartment and you are talking again about something. Like, how many I've had a lot of breakups where, like, it happens and then I wanna talk about it again because I'm still processing it.
Right.
Like, especially when I was younger. I don't yeah, this, like, made me feel insane. It was like she like, there was almost a suggestion that she was doing something duplicitous or they were doing something duplicitous
Right.
by rehashing the breakup on camera, but that seemed very standard to me, and our surprise, as you said, was the fact that this breakup didn't happen immediately after the tux fitting, that they all had gone out and including with the friends who were at the tux fitting, and Madison thought everything had gone well and was
Right.
like, "I'm so in love, I'm so excited," and no one had told her that Joe had had this breakdown, and it came out, like, basically in the middle of the night after this night out.
Right. So I'm like, what are we missing? I don't know. I think like both of the breakups that happen that drop, it's pretty clear that it seems at least Nick and Annie seems more likely to have been fully staged to me because
I agree.
it seems possible, especially based on her texts, that it had begun off camera. But when they sit down, they're acting like everything's normal and they're together and they've kind of righted the ship. And then suddenly he's like, and we're breaking up. Joe and Madison are kind of explicitly already broken up in that conversation. So
Right, or at
I
least,
don't
like,
know.
mid emotional
Right.
trauma.
And I
But
think one of the weird things about this show is that we do see the life cycle of a relationship, but they're not being filmed all the time. And so when important conversations start to happen off camera or happen fully off camera, the show will try to get them to have the conversation again or be like, call us and we'll come over with the cameras and you'll pick it up on camera. And that can lead to some of these artificial conversations where we're like, wait, how are they suddenly breaking up? Or like, why are they breaking up in such a weird way? And part of it is because they already know where this is going because cameras weren't there when it started. And it just seems like this is such a weird event for it to happen around because this is one of the ones where
they
they were
say
like,
it.
he left me, it's over on camera, and then they talk about it after that. I don't know, like, maybe we're both like we're missing something, but, yeah, so it's not a secret though, like, they do reshoot scenes that they missed if they
Yeah,
can. They do get them to rehash stuff that happened off camera so that they have an on-camera conversation about it to put in that part of the narrative.
and that feels fine to me, to be honest, right? Like, the other
Yeah.
option is you have hidden cameras and you just capture 24/7
Yeah.
of these people.
There's something to be said for that, like, The Ultimatum
Yeah.
does it. I don't know why they don't do it for Love Is Blind, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't have, like, static cameras in the house.
Like, you at least would catch some spontaneous stuff that happens in the apartment, and I think what ends up happening is a lot of these scenes, we see that we're only seeing the on-camera version of people, or we're only seeing things that they have kind of maybe pre-packaged a little bit to have a scene about. We're less likely to see something unfold organically because it's really hard to keep that persona up all the time in your home.
Exactly.
Anyway, I don't know what's going on there, but,
You know what? Glad people are talking about the interview. I thought it was a really great conversation, so it's
yeah,
what
I'm
it
just like,
is.
tell us what we're missing or don't. The last thing we wanted to discuss before we get into the finale is that Netflix released a deleted scene, also among this deleted scene reel, where Jordan meets Megan's friends. And it's just very uncomfy. I don't know if everyone saw this clip, but her friends are all kind of interviewing him, and they make some comments about, like, the class difference that felt a little bit rude.
At one point, one of her friends asks him, "What was your thought rolling up in your Kia?" And then here's Megan in her Range Rover,
Yeah, like, kind
which,
of, like, goofy, like, there you are, just, like, in your Kia, and then there's Megan in her Range Rover.
like, how did it feel to see someone who's so above you? Like, the implications are so
Right,
uncomfortable here, and also making it about the car is so shallow. Like, it's just such an odd
right.
way into this. Like, later on in the conversation, they do bring up, past partners of Megan's have outwardly stated they're fine with her being financially stable and successful, but then it turns out down the road they're actually like they feel emasculated or whatever. Like,
Mm.
that's a fair thing to bring up, I think, to say, like, so you're not intimidated by the fact that she is, like, successful. That's been an issue for her in the past. It's really fucking odd to be like, her car is fancier than you, so how do you feel? Bad? Bad about yourself?
There's nothing wrong with the Kia, like, calm down,
No,
it's a
calm the
car.
fuck down.
I don't know, I found this a little off, and
It made
I
me
do
feel icky.
understand the anxiety about men feeling emasculated, but that is also somewhat of a two-way dynamic. Like, if her friends are treating you like you're kind of a loser because you don't have as much money as her, then you
Right,
are maybe
I'd
going
start to
to
feel bad.
start to yeah, your identity is gonna start to feel, like, compromised. You're gonna be like, "Maybe I am a loser." Like, no one wants to feel like a loser. So, like, I do think that sometimes it is true that I think men expect to make more money, and also women expect to be with someone who makes more, and
Yeah.
there can be like both people might be imbuing masculinity with he has the resources, he has the money, and so it is a project for both people to find the things to respect and admire, and to not focus on like, oh, maybe you're lesser than me because you don't have as much money.
I agree, and I actually think this is something that comes up in perhaps a more subtle way between Ali and Anton, and we will get into that when
Yeah,
we talk about their relationship.
100%. I also just wanna say that one of the friends was like, "Well, it's great to hear that you, like, kind of put her on a pedestal, because that's what we love to hear that." And I'm like, "I
I'm like, "No, that
don't."
seems not great." Also, I don't know that he does put her on a
Well,
pedestal.
just
I
because
think he
he's like,
admires her.
I respect and admire that she worked hard for her money." Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, a lot of the language here, they also the instead of emasculated, they say, like, demasculinated or something. It's like, no, that's not it. But sure, I get your point. I see what you're going for. Um,
Oh god. Yeah, this
yeah.
season is just like mess on mess on mess. So, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we will get into this finale episode.
And we are back. So we start with the bachelorette and bachelor parties. I assumed we were going to open with Jordan and Megan continuing that countertop
Right.
conversation and breaking up.
Listen, we
Instead,
know the
no.
format. We know how this goes, and they're playing with it. They're keeping us on our toes.
Yeah, and you know what? I appreciated that. I will say that this season is a complete mess, and yet I do feel that they invested more into like music and editing, and
Yeah.
they made it a fun ride for all
It
of
was
us.
a wild choice, in my opinion, to end the season with Megan and Jordan, spoiler, breaking up before the wedding day. Like, they have the weddings, and then they're like, anyway, rewind to a week ago. Here's Megan and Jordan breaking up on a couch, and the
I
end.
think it was like a day ago, but yes, correct. They're fucking with us. They're fucking
Yeah,
with us because they want the audience to wonder or maybe assume that Megan and Jordan are fine and they're going to get
yeah.
married. And then they're like, "Meh, nope, didn't even have a wedding."
Yeah, because I did. I was like, maybe they get married, because why else would they save them for
I
last?
just started believing, I believe so strongly that they will always show a clip of a wedding. I mean, until they prove me wrong,
No, you're
so
right.
far 9 seasons in, there's never been a wedding they didn't show at least one clip of in one of the promos.
Yeah, that's true. That's material for them. They
Yeah.
would use it. I will say people have been hating on this season because it is such a disaster, and there's a lot to critique in the casting and various decisions that were made. But at the same time, I'm like, What do you guys want, a
Please.
season where everyone's getting along? Like, the mess is what the
Everyone
show is about.
complained
I love
about
a messy season.
Minnesota. Everyone complained about Minnesota because
Yeah.
it was, like, pretty boring and everyone was holding back and all the drama happened off camera after they finished shooting. No, frankly, I'm sorry, this is better. This
I
is a
love it.
disaster, and I I can't look away. I can't look away. There are so many fascinating dynamics to discuss, so many interesting, like, political resonances. I mean, I look,
They're really
it's a
laying it
mess,
out
but I'm
there.
gripped. I am
Yeah.
fucking gripped. Also, I just the music budget.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. So let's talk quickly about the bachelorette and bachelor parties. The bachelorette party appears to be ski themed. They're like at a ski lodge.
This was
There's like an
funny.
ice sculpture of an engagement ring. The ladies are in like white unitard ski outfits and stuff. Sure. Okay. And the bachelor party allegedly was Western themed. Maybe Edmond, his protest won out because it seems like a very loose interpretation. They're just like in the upper level of a barn venue and they're playing pool and no one really seems to be dressed
No,
up that much as
no,
a
there's like
cowboy.
a couple plaid shirts, and that's about the extent of it. Like
Yeah,
if I hadn't known there was a theme, I wouldn't have thought there was a theme
right. The theme is just like mostly white men having a bachelor party
in a barn
in
in
a
broad
barn.
daylight.
Yeah, I mean, he had a point. They already did Western. Like, can we please do something else? So, notable moments at the Bachelorette. It's a very brief portion of because we're already to the finale. It's a very brief segment. So, Meg talks about her relationship with Jordan. She's like, he loves me unconditionally, but she does seem kind of unsteady, like she's on the verge of tears talking
Yeah.
about their relationship. And she says the biggest variable for them is lifestyle. She doesn't always want to like travel by herself, and his lifestyle is very different. And her friend Carrie says that her biggest fear is that Meg will say yes because she, quote, fell in love with the kid. And it does seem like a bad idea to marry someone because you've enjoyed spending one day with their child.
I've
That's
seen
fair.
Jerry Maguire.
Her other friend is like, counterpoint, what about the gorgeous family she would be building with this kid that she loves and maybe another kid or more kids? And it's clear that Megan is also kind of chewing that over. Then we see a conversation with Ali and her buddies. Her roommate Daria, who also appears to be Russian or Eastern European, brings up that Anton is Russian. And she's like, the Russian tradition is for the man to support the family. She's like, he might just like be doing it on a budget. So they're talking about Anton's
Financial situation.
yeah.
And this is the kind of thing that maybe has been hinted at, but we haven't really heard a conversation so explicitly. Like Allie has expressed, are you going to make enough to like pay for my Botox, or like you need to make more? But this makes it clear that she is like concerned about his financial situation now.
Yeah, her friends are hearing about it. Like,
Yeah.
she says, well, Anton makes really good money. And Daria fully side eyes this, like cartoonishly, like rolls her eyes around, like, does he? And Allie's like, okay, well, he
Good
makes
money.
good money. Her friends bring up that they're wondering if she's really okay that he's a truck driver. And one of them says, a lot of people would look down on it, especially women of your caliber.
Yikes.
Allie says yes, but only because he has other ambitions, like opening a barber shop or a restaurant. She's like, if he had said he was always going to be a truck driver, I wouldn't be interested in that. And Daria tells her, well, he has a lot of potential, but one potential is that he'll always be a truck driver. Then we
True.
find
I
out.
mean, true.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's totally true.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that the core of their advice here is right. Like, they're
Yeah.
both getting divorced, apparently. Allie's social circle is very interesting because she like just moved to Denver and she barely knows anyone. And
Yeah.
so is Anton's. They're both like, this is my one friend and their serious girlfriend who's known him for 3 months. And this is my best friend I just met last year, and she's getting divorced, and so are all my other friends.
But yes, her friends both urge her to like marry Anton. If she marries Anton, to marry him for who he is right now, not for who she believes he could be in the future. And I do think that that is good advice. Like, if you are not satisfied and excited about the person he is right now, you probably shouldn't be marrying him.
Right. You don't want to be in 10 years being like, you always said you were going to open a barber shop
And or a restaurant. I was like,
and
these
or a
are different
restaurant.
businesses, first of all, but
Yeah.
sure.
And like a high likelihood of failure, I think, especially
Yeah.
with restaurants. So I don't know if that's going to reliably secure her Botox either. I think that like being a nurse is actually maybe a really good way if you stay in the workforce to
Well,
make sure that you're
and she's
bringing in a
going back to
comfortable.
school, presumably to be able to work at a higher level. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
this would be a very strong two-income household. I think most people are not in a position to like support a family without two incomes.
Yeah.
Just point blank period. Most people in this country cannot do that.
Yeah. No, this is like the pink pill thing. It's like, oh, well, you just need to find a good, hardworking, solid man. And if he is worth your time, he will make a comically large amount of money that most men can't make because that's not how our economy works
Right.
anymore. And if he doesn't, then like he should be able to like send you to get extended education just for bragging rights because you're going to be staying home with the kids while he keeps you in Botox and pays for all the bills. That's what women are kind of being told to aspire to now. Um, from the bachelor party, even fewer notable moments. Anton describes Allie to his party friend Joe in this way. Quote, is she high maintenance? Absolutely. Is she the best with money? No. Does she cook and clean? No. But he's like, there are definitely things I value more than that. Like what? Like, those are things that he keeps talking about. It seems like he values those things. I'm less clear on what he values more than that. That she's
Maybe
gorgeous.
that she's gorgeous and she'll be a good mom. I
I
mean, those are the two
guess.
other things that he mentions. I was like, wow, could be talking about me. Is she the best with money? No. Does she cook and clean? Only sometimes.
Yeah. He says that he will say yes. Like he's ready to take this leap of faith. I
This is
just
a
feel like,
season full of runaway brides and grooms
yeah,
who are just like gritting their teeth and being like, I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. I really think that Ali and Anton are such a fascinating case study and like two people who have been sold a traditionalist marriage bill of goods. Neither of them is really prepared or excited to do their end of it, but they
Right.
really want what the other person is going to do. They find each other. They're like, yay, we're going to be in a traditional couple together. And then they're like, huh, the other person isn't going to do any of the stuff that I expected from a traditional husband or traditional wife. And he's like, I guess that's okay. I guess like I should just marry her. It feels almost like magical thinking. Like I imagine that when she doesn't cook and clean, he's actually going to really hate it, right?
Right.
And Allie is more like, "Oh, he's not really gonna be the provider that I want. I should bail."
Correct.
Like, okay. Um,
Guys, traditional marriage, a scam.
it's a scam. Most people are not prepared to be in one. Jordan's friends think that he's about to be living the American dream, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm excited to be living in a house with a picket fence." Jordan has this weird thing going on where half the time he talks about Meg, like he's so excited by her money and like kind of almost gold digger vibes. Like I'm leveling up, like I'm stepping into a new world, like it's all happening for me. But then when he's actually with her, it's clear that he's uncomfortable accepting that stuff from her.
Yeah.
And it compromises his like pride and sense of self. And so when he's away from her, he's like, "Hell yeah, marrying money." And then when he's with her, he's like, "I am independent and I won't be going on vacations with you."
I was like, no, if my partner wants to fly me first class to Europe, I will accept.
Yeah. I mean, as we see in a
I'm
deleted
not too
scene,
good. I'm not too good for that.
but as we see in a deleted scene, some of it is just that he kind of can't without quitting his job. He's like, "I
No,
already used
then
up all my PTO. I can't go to Italy for a wedding in a $200,000 venue."
no, to be fair, that makes more sense for me. If you can't like take off time work, then
Yeah.
yes. But I am very comfortable if anyone, a friend, a loved one, a
Yeah.
partner, if they want to fly me to Europe, I
It's
accept.
so sad because Allie and Megan should just get married. Like,
That's so true.
yeah, they would be a perfect couple.
They would be so happy.
So let's get into these weddings. We start with Ali and Anton's weddings. So right away, you know they're not getting married because if
They're the
they
first
had
ones.
they're the only couple that I thought had a shadow of getting married, and they're the first ones.
Yeah,
So,
I was like, "Oh, we're doomed." I was just texting Claire like, "I don't think any of these people are getting married. I think they're all breaking up."
yeah. But the vibes are positive when they get to the venue.
I
They're
was
both
actually
actually
shocked by how positive the vibes were on Allie's side as she's arriving. I'm like, "They're really trying to misdirect us here."
I get the sense from what she says later that she's, like, hopeful that she'll just, like, feel an overwhelming sense of rightness at the altar,
Yeah.
and then she'll be done. She'll be married, and it'll be like, "I had my happy ending." They're actually both wearing their engraved hoodies. Did you notice this?
I did not until you pointed it out.
Well, because his said it has this weird, like, goofy, chunky font, and his said "Mister," and I was like, "Oh, he got an engraved hoodie," and then I went back and checked, and she also got one.
Engraved hoodie.
It's not it's more like screen printed or something.
Oh,
It's
it's
not
not even
embroidered.
embroidered?
It's not embroidered.
Well, then that's definitely not engraved, but,
Yeah.
it's fine.
On the back is an axe. I don't know. There seems like more went into the story creation around these hoodies that we didn't
Yeah,
see.
that's a deleted scene we need. Release the tapes.
I know they probably filmed them going to, like, design these
100%.
together. Allie seems pretty giddy. She's like, best case scenario, I get to put the wedding band on his finger. She looks at it. Of course, it's one of those very thick, matte black rings that
Like,
men
I
love
guess,
'cause
like, look,
makes them feel like men.
if you like it, I love it to the men out there with those rings, but it just makes me laugh. It really is like hashtag rings for men.
Yeah.
They're
It
like,
makes me
"No
think
shine,
it
must
looks
be
like
black."
it looks like they're trying to make it look like one of those silicone rings that you get if you're working in like a hospital or a wood shop during the day and you can't wear a real wedding ring, but they're like, "Let's make that but metal."
No, it's definitely from, like, the site that Chris Harrison was selling rings off of, like,
Man
manbands.com.
bands. Anton is ready to get married. He's like, "Allie will make a great mom." I think you're right. That's what he keeps going back to. He's like, "She's beautiful and she's loving. She'll make a great mom." But his biggest fear is that she'll say no at the altar. Allie's friends, as they're getting ready with her, bring up the partying and drinking issues that she'd been worried about. As far as we saw, they were never resolved. We actually see a deleted scene in that
Yes.
reel where they're questioning him about it, and they're not satisfied with his answers
I mean,
at
his
all.
answers are bad. They're like, "Why would the girlfriend say this thing about you if you definitely haven't been behaving in these ways for the 4 months she's been around?"
Right. He's like,
And
"I
he's
guess
like,
she's just
"Well,
heard
I
about it."
guess, Joe said it. I don't know what he said." I mean, it's not convincing.
Yeah, he's like, "That was a few years ago, and she probably just heard stories about it from Joe." Okay, well, that's not what she said. But Allie is like, "Well, she's only been around for 3 months, so maybe her read on the situation is not that reliable." Also funny to me that she rounded the tenure of the girlfriend down
Yeah.
to 3 months. She's like, "No, she really hasn't been around long. Let's say 3 months, right? What can you
And
believe from
she's like,
someone who's only been around 3 months?"
I haven't seen anything concerning in the last few weeks." I'm like, "I think you mean few days."
I mean, it's literally false. We have seen them on camera arguing about
You've
it.
only been in this for a few weeks.
I saw you list out all of the alcohol that he drank without your knowledge in the space of just a few days, and you were like, "I'm concerned."
I'm like, "That was definitely maximum 10 days ago."
Yeah. Vanecci is a little bit worried about the alcohol. She doesn't drink at all. And Allie is like, "Mom, I drink alcohol. Like, it's not such a big deal. He deserves grace." But her mom is like, I don't like it." And I would say that, like, I would be concerned if I had ever heard a whisper of, like, my son-in-law has drinking problems, I would be concerned because, like, that can really like, historically, that's where prohibition came from. Like, if the man of the house has a big problem with alcohol, that can really be kind of a big issue.
At bare minimum, it's the kind of thing that, like, maybe you need more time with the person.
Right.
Because that is also something that her friends bring up in that deleted scene where he's like, "She'll see." And they're like, "Well, she
Right.
doesn't have time."
She won't see. Meanwhile, Anton is putting on mismatched striped socks in the groom's suite, and his mom arrives to reassure him that the wrong socks are actually a good sign. I guess it's like rain on your wedding day or something. I have to feel like there's a little bit of like, oh, well, if this is the thing that's going wrong, it's such a
Yeah.
small thing. So it's actually, in a way,
It's
It's
good.
good luck. And they have this whole conversation in Russian. She asks how he's feeling. He admits he's worried. And she starts like crossing her hands over him and blessing him and being like, God sees everything. You're my darling, my golden one, my favorite, my joy. You're the
My
best child
favorite.
in the world. I really hope she doesn't have other kids. Maybe she
And
says
I was
this
like,
to
this
all of
is
them.
rough.
She's really just like doting on him in a way that I think we very rarely see. But I was just like, this is the epitome of boy mom vibes right now. It's like my perfect son, you're my joy. Nothing you do is ever wrong. Let me bless you and hold you. She tells him that Ali needs to appreciate his soul because not everything can be counted in money. The soul is the most important thing. Before they head down the aisle, she does go into the bridal suite to see Ali and Vanecci, and the moms meet. It's very sweet.
It is
They're
really
they're
sweet.
both very excited.
I also started to get a sense here that like Allie was worried she was going to upset Natalia.
Yeah. Natalia is trying to be like, "Oh, like, we want you to be happy, like, do what's in your heart, everyone should be happy." And Allie's like, "Yes, thank you, we all deserve to be happy." And then Natalia starts crying and is like, "How do you feel about Anton? Like, I want you to see how wonderful, like, he is and the love he has in his soul." And Allie cries and is like, "I do love him. You raised an amazing son." And she's like, "Yes, his soul is so beautiful. I just hope you see that and you see how wonderful he is." And Allie is like, "Yes, I do. I love him."
At this point,
But
I was convinced she is not saying yes.
yeah, I think that Natalia
I think
really
Natalia
wanted
also
some
kind of
reassurance before
yes.
it
I think
started.
Natalia, what we're seeing here is that Natalia is very worried that her son is about to get hurt and embarrassed.
Right. And she doesn't want to come in and be like, if you hurt my son, I'll murder you. But that's kind of what
No,
she wants to
she's
do, I think.
right. She's doing the thing that you should do, which is to say, like, do what's in your heart. You're a good person. I
Do
want
what's in your heart. Have you noticed?
hopefully,
Have you noticed
hopefully
how
it's
wonderful my son is?
hopefully what's in your heart is marrying my son.
Yeah. Allie's older sisters, Christina and Jessica, arrive. It's our first time meeting them. And then they part like the seas, and standing behind them is Nyara, the sister who wasn't supportive. Here she is. And they both like weep, especially Allie is very emotional. And Nyara hugs her and tells her, "Whatever happens out there, I'm not going to like it, depending on the way it goes. I did not approve of this, but you're grown and I love you very much. You're my best friend and I want you to be happy." And she kind of gives her like the blessing to like do what's best for her, but she's clearly like, "I will
Mm,
not be super thrilled if you marry this guy, but it's your decision. So go for
go
it."
forth.
So it's Denver. So, of course, they have beautiful weather for an outdoor ceremony in the
Gorgeous.
mountains. It's
I
really
mean,
stunning.
these views,
Yeah.
unparalleled. I was like, it's Denver. You gotta do an outdoor ceremony if at
Mm.
all possible.
No, it really, I felt like I was watching Sound of Music
Yeah.
or something. They're like cavorting in the green mountaintops. The guests all have little parasols to block the sun. And Ali and Anton have done like all white florals and arches. Vanecci and Allie's stepdad, Desi, walk Allie down the aisle. And at the altar, Allie and Anton are beaming at each other. So Greg walked by at this point and stopped to watch the outcome of this ceremony with me. And he was like, "They're definitely getting married. They're both smiling." I was like, "You sweet summer child."
Yeah. You were
That
texting
means
me at this
nothing.
point. I was like, oh, Greg. Oh, Greg. No, they're not.
And then he got distracted by Anton's tie, which I had not noticed, but let's talk about it. It is not fully tightened around his collar, so you can see the top button, and then there's like loosely hanging underneath it is his tie.
Okay, I was upset the whole time Anton is like alone in the groom suite. Where are his friends to help him? Or someone like a groom's attendant.
This actually seems like the exact kind of thing that his boy mom, Natalia, would do. It would be to like fuss around and
Tighten the
fix his
tie.
tie. It's also later we see that it's hanging down to like his fly, Trump style.
It's very alarming.
It's not good. Like this is your wedding and it's being televised for international broadcast and like you
You
didn't
gotta come
tie the
correct with
tie
the tie.
properly. I think if you're I would actually be okay if you had it that loose, but then you have to unbutton that top button and go for a casual unbuttoned look.
Yes.
Anyway, Anton speaks first. He's like, "The amount of love I have for you is indescribable. I'm excited for our future together." It's very, like, forward-looking. Ali says that falling in love with him was so easy. He accepted her without seeing her, and then she kinda talks about how it wasn't always, like, an easy process, but now they know the things they need to know to make this decision.
Kiss of death. I have received the information that I need. KB actually says
Oof.
something kind of similar.
Yeah, like, they're both like, "I have completed my information gathering process, and I am prepared to make the decision," is not what you say when you are super excited to marry the love of your life.
No. So the officiant asks Anton to answer first, of course. There's a pause, but he ultimately says, I do. And Allie, her face looks a little stricken. She's like smiling a little, but it's clenched. And you see her panic. I think she was hoping he was going to say no.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, I think I would probably pull, Love is Blind UK. I would probably just say yes, because like, the thought of
It's too brutal.
it's so hard. So, she's asked next. She pauses for a long, long time and looks down. She looks like she's about to cry. Natalia's already crying.
Boy.
And finally, she says, "I can't be your wife." And then she says one of the most, I think, kind of hurtful things I've ever seen someone say at this point.
This is brutal.
She says, "The person I fell in love with in the pods isn't the person I've gotten to experience in real life. I'm so sorry."
The implication being you are duplicitous.
Right. Like, there's so many things that you can say here. Like, we didn't have enough time. Like, I've just realized that, like,
There
we're
are
not each other's person.
incompatibilities. Yes.
The person I fell in love with was a lie. Like, that is not who you are in real life. The person I loved, that's not you. You're
It
something different that I can't love.
it's mean.
Brutal.
It's very brutal. It is the kind of thing that we would normally see someone say in their confessional,
Right.
not in front of everyone's friends and family. Like, that is part of what makes it so brutal, is because you can feel that he is being, like, completely humiliated in front of his loved ones in this moment.
Right. And so often, like, people go out of their way in this moment to be like, "I love you, but it's not the right time for us to say I do. We just need a little bit longer. I still love you so much." And she's like, "I can't be your wife because everything was a facade." So, and I'm out. So Vaneshi gets up and walks Allie back down the aisle. She is already crying now, Allie.
Yeah. Clearly,
Um,
this is she had planned this line, and I think now that she's done it, it is, like, it's still traumatic for her. She's, like, in this wedding dress. She's hurting someone. It
yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, it's not like she saunters off like she doesn't give a fuck.
No.
She's very upset. She gets out of the venue itself and down to the path outside and collapses like onto her knees, and her bridesmaids and her sisters are kind of gathering around her, and her friend Daria is like, "Intuition never lies. You'll be fine." So she is not fine. Like, she seems almost in this moment more than in, I think, most of the versions of this scene I've ever seen, very much like a sort of like traditional like bride, in the sense that she's almost been like prepared like a doll, and now she's like, I need to be carried back and like
Yeah.
undressed like a doll. Like, she's so upset, and she's like, I just want to go home. And they whisk her back to the bridal suite, and she's sobbing, and they're all just like taking off like her various like veil and
Oh.
accessories, like as she just stands there like a Barbie doll, like crying. And it's sort of sweet. I just feel like in a weird way it kind of like underscored this idea to me in a way that most of these scenes actually don't. The way that we conceive of women getting married as like this moment where they're kind of dressed up like a little,
Virginal doll.
yeah, exactly, for display, because 'cause they're disassembling her in the same way, um, and it's while she's heartbroken. And Daria says, "I've never seen a more pretty runaway bride." Daria always has a one-liner.
It's great. And one of her friends asks if she's upset about hurting Anton, and she nods. And they assure her that, like, marrying him when it isn't the right fit would actually hurt him more, which I do agree. That is the worst thing that you can do, as we have seen on Love is Blind UK and
Yeah, don't do
France.
that.
It is much worse to say yes when you don't mean it.
I will say that you could say no without being
You
like,
could be less mean.
"You're not the person that I loved." In her confessional, she says she almost wishes he had said no. She was hoping that standing up with him would make her feel at ease and right, but it didn't. She says, "I don't feel like he was super forthcoming about his lifestyle, drinking, partying, how active he is, how healthy he eats." That's a whole thing that we never
Yeah,
really heard about. She says she learned things about him from his friends that threw off her perspective of
I
him.
mean, I think from the moment that there was, like, the drinking and the girlfriend made those comments, I think that the
Yeah.
doubts were seated, and it was gonna be really hard for her
Especially
to.
because she was seeing that he came home every morning and drank, that the booze
Right.
was disappear like, it's not like there was nothing that comported with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's interesting how, like, he talks very openly, and she does too, about her shortcomings as a partner, but whenever we see her talking about this concern of his that she had with people other than him, she's very defensive of him. She's like, "I haven't seen anything like that. Like, it's not an issue. We need to give him grace. Like, he's great. He's wonderful." Up until the point that she's at the altar and she's like, "Yeah, no, actually, that was all true. And the person I believed he was is not real." Anton stands at the altar for a while, kind of shaking his head and wiping his eyes, and his family and friends come up to comfort him. Natalia's like, "It's for the best." And then one of his friends offers some other comfort.
This was wild to me. It's not a featured friend, it is a woman, and we just hear her say, "Cold-hearted fucking bitch." Jesus
Okay.
Christ.
And Natalia says, "Yeah, that's what I thought."
Jesus.
Natalia tells Anton that he shared his soul, and if she doesn't appreciate it, then whatever. And Joe says, "Any girl will be lucky to have you, bro." They're gonna be hitting the bars again real soon. His
Oh,
girlfriend
yeah.
has better be shaking in her boots.
Afterwards, we see Anton alone in the groom's suite drinking something out of a gold champagne glass. And he says, I don't know what Ali's disconnect was between who I was in the pods and who I am in real life. Like, I don't know if it was about looks or vibes or the way that we were living together. And he says, I've done nothing but care for her, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think he really took that one on the chin considering how brutal that dumping was. I even kind of understand his mom and friends' reactions because it
It
was
was
such a
cold.
tough,
It
cold
was
way
cold.
to say it, but I'm glad she didn't marry him, and it seems a little surprising that he isn't putting the pieces together with this ongoing issue that she's had about his drinking, but
Right. I was
maybe it
so
loomed
surprised that
less
he's like,
large.
it's about looks. It's obviously not about looks. That was not the problem here. The
Yeah.
problem was the same things that she's been bringing up to you. And yeah, I do think she was a little harsh in her rejection of him. And I understand his friends and family being defensive of him. On the other hand, she did the absolutely correct thing.
Yeah, 100%. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk about KB and Edmond's wedding and Megan and Jordan's breakup.
And we are back, and it's KB and Edmond's wedding day. KB arrives at the venue first, and she says, Today is the start of a new life. She weeps and looks at Edmond's wedding band. And what do you know? It is also a giant matte black man band. Guys, guys, you can have a shiny metal in your life. It's
Is this
allowed.
Were these the only wedding bands they were offered? Like, I'm kind of baffled because Edmond and Anton have really different style, and they both actually within the realm of straight men who go on these shows, like they
They have a
seem
sense of style.
relatively like men I would expect to be interested in shiny metal. But they both go with the giant matte black. Was there a special at Love Is Blind's preferred jeweler?
Yeah, I'm
What's
like, what
going
is?
on?
I'm sorry, what is going on with these bands? I just personally find them to be an aesthetic crime.
No, it's so upsetting. I'm like, and it's a trend that Imagine having that same matte black wedding ring in, like, 50 years.
Guys, just get an just get a nice basic gold or platinum
White
ring.
gold white
White
gold,
gold, gorgeous.
classic, goes with everything, you'll
Yeah.
never regret it. Edmund says he's ready to say yes and make KB his wife. His feet aren't cold, they're hot, like KB's feet. Hottest feet in town. He looks at her thin gold wedding band and sobs. Calibria tells the camera that when she looks at Edmund, she sees a loving man, a trying man, a healing man, a growing man, a stubborn man. Only like one of these things seems like something you would say about someone that you plan to marry today.
Like a loving man.
Yeah. Like maybe a trying man or a growing man, but like you're piling up the adjectives that are like he wants to be better in the future, but also he's really stubborn. I don't know. It's not sounding like she's sold.
I mean, I think it was
Yeah.
very clear very early on that KB was not going to say yes.
I almost feel like it would have been kinder for her to end things before the wedding.
I agree. I think, unfortunately, she takes the responsibility of, like, seeing something through very seriously, and also probably once you have a couple other relationships fall apart, you're like, "Well, I guess I just gotta get through the wedding day."
Yeah. So her mom, Aisha, goes to talk to Edmund first. I don't think we ever met Aisha. Some of the parent and friend meetings did not make the main edit because I think of all the drama this season. They had to drop a lot of the scenes we would have seen in previous seasons, like going to get the engraved sweatshirts together or meeting family members. She asks Edmund who is coming for him.
Oh.
And the first thing he says is his rollerblade community. Oh, Edmund. And then he says his fifth grade teacher and her husband,
We, of course,
presumably.
had heard him talk about his 5th grade teacher in the pods and say that his teacher saved his life.
Yeah. And his dad is there. And he says that his mom couldn't make it, quote, so that's been a whole thing. He says it's not because of a problem with KB, but he doesn't specify why it was. But it does seem like he both is like not coming at it with like anger and like, I can't believe she's not coming. But it also, he does kind of seem to be talking about it as a choice that she made. Like that was the impression I got.
Yeah, and that's kind of how Aisha responds to it. You know, she says, like, basically, sometimes people have, like, their limitations, and it's not about their love for you, and people have to make the choices they have to make right now. But I found this so heartbreaking, and it frankly made me, like, kind of even more upset about the way that we saw his mom talking about Edmund and talking about how she like, everything that's good in him, like, she created.
Right.
And I just think she clearly still has some work to do on, like, reckoning with her own limitations, and I have, like, a great amount of empathy for her, but really, really felt for Edmund in this moment, and I did wonder if maybe if maybe he needs to protect himself a little bit more and set some more boundaries.
Yeah. I thought about that too. That like it's clear that he really wants a relationship with his mom, and it means a lot to him that his mom loves him and wants to be in his life. But you see, like, you don't often see playing out this dramatically, that cycle of like opening yourself up to someone who has hurt you, especially a parental figure who has hurt you, and giving them that trust, and then having it kind of pulled away
Yeah.
again, and the disappointment that comes with staying open to that relationship. It made me really sad, because it's clear that it just means a lot to him that they have that relationship now, and it does seem like she would have come if she were investing as much in it as he is.
It just made me really upset for him.
Yeah. Like, we don't know everything, but just the way that he and KB's mom were talking about it really made it seem like she could have been there if she valued it enough, and that hurt him. Her mom, KB's mom, Aisha, is like, no words can fix the pain of this, but don't let it steal your joy for the day.
Mm.
There are people here who love you.
She seems so wonderful,
I know.
just like KB.
He gets all dolled up. He's wearing a pale blue hair pick that matches his, like, sort of color palette for the day, of course. And I can't believe I thought he might not wear a shirt because, of course, floral patterned shirts are his signature, and he is wearing a floral patterned shirt.
It's a very fun outfit.
His teacher, Ms. Welsh, comes to see him,
Oh, this
and this is really
scene.
sweet.
This was so sweet. Every scene with Miss Welch, like, made me cry.
Yeah. And it's like it's kind of a multi-layered thing because, like, she seems like a loving person and, like, she really cares for him, and she's been in his life for a long time. And also when he talks about how much she gave him, extra tutoring, food, discipline when he needed it, he's like, "She was like my guardian angel." You know, that's so much for a teacher to give. That's over and
Yeah.
above what we expect from teachers. But for a kid, it's like, it's so much less than you need from a parent, you know? So you see, like, how much he's needed from this relationship that, like, shouldn't have to have that much hanging on it. So I was both,
Right.
like, really touched by the bond they've developed, and also it just seemed to kind of highlight what he still needs and, like, needed as a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah, and the ways in which his parents weren't able to provide what
Yeah.
he needed, and, like.
And apparently his foster parents as well.
Right.
Like, you know, this is the relationship that's really lasted, and he's had so many guardians and caretakers in his life who have not been there for him.
And I think we were both struck by how young she seems. Like, she clearly was a very young teacher when they
Yeah.
met.
Yeah, she does seem like she's maybe close to our age, maybe a little bit older. And she talks sort of about how he shaped her as a teacher. She says that he really changed her perspective on being in the classroom and made her the teacher that she is because he was always like her hardest student. He was always like distracting, basically. He's singing, he's dancing, and she felt like he wasn't paying attention. He's creating like a ruckus. But then she says she realized that he was still hearing what she was saying and she was still getting through. And she started to learn how to reach him in the ways that she could reach him. And it taught her that she could teach kids who had different needs. It taught her to teach in different ways and how that kind of made her who she is now.
I thought that was
And
beautiful.
I know they clearly have a very special relationship, and she's very emotional to like see him here at this moment. She calls him my little boy.
And she
Um,
says she'll always be his constant, and that really made me, like, start to cry because it's clear that she has been a more consistent parental presence for him than really anyone else, and, like, she is the one who showed up
yeah,
on this day for him.
yeah. And then she says, Susie still calls her Miss Welsh. She's like, "You can call me Jessie or Mom too." And he's trying some of these out during the day, actually, which is cute. They share a hug. And meanwhile, KB is getting dressed in her wedding gown. Her mom puts her veil on. She looks stunning, of course. I feel like she was like doing her own makeup, which I thought was interesting. Usually we see them getting kind of painted, and I saw her, she was like putting on her own
Oh, I didn't even
foundation.
notice that. Maybe she just I know there are
Yeah.
people like that. They're like, "No one can do my makeup better than me."
I'm a little like that sometimes, so maybe that's why I noticed. She tells the camera that she loves that man. She loves him. She really does. She loves him.
She definitely loves him. I felt like she was maybe talking herself into it a little bit here.
I feel like she was like, despite what I'm about to do,
I do love him. Yeah, no,
I
she
do
does
love
have I
him.
know that she has love for him. I know that there is a
Right.
care there.
They're at the same venue, of course, as Ali and Anton, but it's a cloudy day this time, so no parasols. And the florals are more like greenery with some pale flowers like peaches, pinks, that sort of thing. And Miss Welsh is the one to walk Edmund down the aisle. We see his dad briefly, who we haven't met. He walks down alone, and just like the way this whole day played out made me like a little like it's just so sad for Edmund. But his
I
dad is
know.
there. We don't see them have any conversation before the wedding. I don't know if it happened or not, but he's
Maybe he
walking
didn't
down
wanna
the
be on
aisle like
camera, but
waving like he's the celebrity and people are clapping. And I was like,
I know.
you don't even have the relationship with Edmund to like walk him down the aisle. Like, I don't know. The whole setup was just Yeah, a lot of feelings. Also, his dad has a very interesting hair. It's like a perfect oval of hair on top of his head. It's like a reverse, like, monk's, circle,
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just the center of the top of his head, and there's a very perfect oval of hair. Um, so then Miss Welsh walks Edmund down the aisle. KB arrives and immediately is like, "I just got so nervous." And her mom walks her down the aisle. At the altar, she asks Edmund for a hug, and they exchange many "I love yous." The officiant, who is wearing a dramatic fedora, says that she hopes their wedding will be a safe haven and they'll stand together and support each other. Edmund speaks first, and it was just very Edmund. The vows are just very Edmund. He's like, "I love you. I love you so much. I like really love you. I've been praying for someone like you. Everything I've talked about, the future, the kids, I'm ready for it." Then he says, "Hold me accountable. I'm ready to grow more as a man." He's like, "I have big plans. We have big plans. I'm ready. I'm confident. Give me some pressure. I got it." This is like the player in the huddle being like, "Come on, coach. Get me the ball in this next play." Like it doesn't, it feels a little tonally off. And I feel like that's just kind of who he is.
Yeah, I also think he was very confident going into this, which also
Yeah.
perhaps to me betrays a little bit of a misunderstanding of the situation they were in, given their like struggles.
Yeah. And to me, like it almost, I do think that KB had her mind made up already, but the way that her whole expression changed when he started talking almost made me feel like that was confirmation for her that, like,
Yeah.
this man is not in the place that I need my husband to be in. Like, this is not the speech that I would expect to be getting from, like, the love of my life on our wedding day. Like, why is hold me accountable in your vows? Like, you know what
I'm
I
ready to
mean?
grow. Like, I just don't think that, yeah, I don't think that KB wants a partner that like it is her responsibility now to raise up and heal.
Right. It's like part of the vows of the marriage now are like, now it is your job to hold him accountable. He is ready to step up under pressure. It's not an egalitarian mindset. And she
No.
has like totally participated in creating that dynamic in their relationship for sure.
Yes, 100%. 100%. I just don't think it was a good, I think
Yeah.
they are both good people. I don't think this is a good match.
Yeah. KB says that it was so easy to fall for him and his story. She says, "Your story shapes you. You shouldn't be insecure about it. Your story is like one of the things I love about you." And she kind of says that it has given him or helped him become this like really positive, genuine person. Everybody loves him. And she says he's shaped her and he's helped her grow. What were your thoughts on this framing for the
I mean,
vows?
I think it was honest. It also
Yeah.
indicated to me that she was not going to say yes, but I do think that she did feel very touched that he opened up to her. In the one of the deleted scenes that we see in that drop that they just
Hmm.
released, we see KB meeting Edmund's friends, and they ask like what drew you to
Hmm.
Edmund, and part of what she says is that he was super vulnerable with her really early on, told her his story, and said like, I haven't told anyone else this before. And I
Yeah.
think there was something very compelling to her about like, oh my gosh, this emotional openness that, like, I'm admiring of the adversity that this person has been through. And
Yeah.
I do think that that also perhaps even colored why she tried so hard to make it work when she would have walked away.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hesitate to judge both of them because I think that they are both, like, doing the best with the situation, and I do think they're both, like, good, well-meaning people, um, but this made me uncomfortable, like, there was something,
Yeah.
like, it just there's something about being, like, your story that makes
You
it
don't want to
feel
reduce someone to their
right.
trauma.
Exactly, and it's like, I loved you because of this traumatic backstory that you have. That's a such an essential part of who you are that you have this traumatic backstory. It feels a little bit like almost objectifying in a sense. Like
Mm,
it's very easy to either say like reduce someone to their story in a negative way, but just because you're doing it in a positive way doesn't make it hit my ear that much better.
I agree. It made me but again, I thought it was honest.
Yeah. No, I do think it was
Like,
honest. Yeah, I think it was maybe, like, revealing is the
it was
word maybe I
revealing.
would
It was
use.
revealing. It was revealing, and it yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah. No, I think she really admires who he is in the context of his story, and that's part of it. Like, she's like, "You've done so much with what you were given," but, yeah, I
Yeah, I
was
think in a
left a
way
little
she was
bit
almost
troubled, but it's
drawn to
okay because 'cause they're not gonna
something.
get married. The
Exactly.
officiant
I think she was almost, like,
Oh,
drawn to
sorry.
someone who she could do social work on, and then at the same time, she doesn't want someone that she has to do social work on because that's her job.
Yeah.
It just put them both in not the best position, and I am glad they're not getting married.
So the officiant asks Edmund to answer first, and Calibria looks kind of ill, and he says, "I do." She immediately starts crying.
And not in a happy way.
She's next, and she closes her eyes and breathes out slowly, and eventually she shakes her head no. And immediately Edmund kind of like cries out,
Oh, I was so worried for him.
and she says, "I'm sorry." Yeah, he really was very confident that this was the day he was going to get married. Often they do talk about it beforehand in a way where they're both prepared for different outcomes, but like it doesn't seem like that was the case here. She sobs. She says, "I'm so sorry. You deserve someone that is 100% at the altar, and I'm not 100% right now. My no doesn't mean that I don't love you. It doesn't mean that I don't accept you. I'm so sorry."
And you can feel that she is very anxious that this will trigger his abandonment issues, and I'm like, "It
Yeah.
probably will,
I
because
mean,
this is traumatizing."
I don't think you should have been cast. Like
I
this is
agree.
such a painful trigger for people who have trauma around abandonment to have this happen. Like even if you're a very secure person, this would be
Right.
really painful and hurtful. And she's clearly so aware of that and she wants to mitigate it, but you can't. Like you're saying no at the
No.
altar. Like there's nothing that can kind of take that away. And you can't marry him because you're afraid to hurt his feelings at the altar either. So he's just in this very like unwinnable situation, and so is
It
she.
sucks. It really sucks.
He turns away and we hear him whisper, "Yo, what the fuck?" under his breath. And she's being like, "No, it wasn't an easy decision." She's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I've got to say I'm okay. Like I'm okay, but I'm not okay." And he's starting to kind of crumble. And she's like, "That's what a strong person looks like. It's okay to not be okay. I'm sorry that I'm the reason." And he collapses into her arms and cries while she rubs his back. We have never seen anything like this happen, I don't think, on this show.
No, she's, like, really, again, going into that social worker mode a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those. It is okay to not be okay, absolutely, and he should feel his feelings about this, but it's like, usually people are kind of able to respond relatively stoically in the moment and then save their breakdown for later, and again, we just see that, like, he's not really equipped, or it
Yeah.
seems like he's not really equipped for that, and so she's having to kind of manage it in this moment. Then he suddenly perks up and starts being like, "I fell in love with you blindly, but dang, you happen to be so beautiful." And she responds, "You got the best body I've ever seen, baby."
I was like, "What's
What?
happening? What's
What's
going
going
on?
on?
These tonal changes are making me uncomfortable."
I mean, he's trying to pull himself together, like,
Yeah. Yeah,
honestly,
I get it.
props to
That's
him, but, like, this took such a weird turn to where she's now complimenting his body in front of all of their loved
I know,
ones.
I was like, "You're still up on the altar. Leave, leave."
Just stop, everyone's watching. Um, she says she has to honor her doubt, but she knows they did have enough time.
And this felt important because it's clear
Yeah.
that she is not trying to drag this out. She's
She
saying,
says
"I love you and I'm not 100%." And the subtext is, "I will never be 100% and I honor what we had, which is now over."
yeah, like, she's trying to be so she's the opposite of Ali, she's trying to be so
Yeah.
gentle at the altar, she's like, "I'm not 100% right now, and my no doesn't mean I don't love you. You are the person I love, But then slowly she starts to kind of like, as they get further from that high pressure moment at the altar, she's starting to be kind of like, we had enough time to decide. And
The answer is no.
the answer is no. They walk out together hand in hand and outside of the venue in front of a waterfall. They must be so pissed they got no romantic weddings at this stunning
I
location.
know.
Edmund says something about how they could be like great maybe down the line. And she says she'd never write him off. But then she says he was a big stepping stone in her life and she will never forget him.
Stepping stone is rough.
It reminded me this whole scene reminded me of that Sleeping Beauty, like, TikTok meme where she's like, "Oh, goodbye, goodbye," and he's like, "But when will I see you again?" And she's like, "Oh, never, never." He's like, "We could get back together," and she's like, "Oh, no, no, we won't. Goodbye." She says she did love him, that's why she stayed, but then she just, like, couldn't get past the search for, like, clarity, and then not being able to get there was ultimately the answer. Edmund goes for a walk and cries by himself, and his teacher joins him
It did feel
and hugs
notable
him.
that the only person who goes out to comfort him is this teacher. Like, his father is there.
Well, he talks to his father later, we'll get there. She says, "God's got other plans, you don't know what they are yet. She wasn't a diamond, maybe she's a sapphire. There's a diamond out there, you deserve a diamond."
Mm.
And, yeah, she's also kind of like, "Can I be here with you, or do you want some time to yourself?" And he's like, "No, I wouldn't hate it if you stayed." And she,
Oh,
like, hugs him. He says, "It's so hard out there, this was his
oh,
best chance, he's tried everything."
oh my God. This made me so sad. It also felt so honest, and how I think a lot
Yeah.
of people who feel like it's like the Charlotte York thing of like,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
exhausted.
exhausted, like,
Where is he?
and I do think sometimes that accounts for people. I think we talked about this with, like, the French Love is Blind, with 1 or 2 of the people, but, like, a lot of seasons, there are people where they stay when past the point when you think maybe they should leave, and it's tempting to be like, "Oh, they just wanna be on TV." But sometimes I think that they are like, "I'm so close to being
Yeah.
done with dating, to being done with the uncertainty, like, I need to make this work because I don't wanna go back to that."
And Edmund is just, all of his emotions are so right out there, and it was just heartbreaking. And I also was like, Edmund, you're like not even 30. Like, you do have time. You have plenty of time. You have so much time. Like,
Yeah, but he doesn't wanna go back there.
I
He's
know.
exhausted. He tells the camera that he was expecting her to say, "I do," and there's no bright side. He says, "I'm just so hurt." Meanwhile, Calibria goes back to the bridal suite and tells her mom that she feels so bad. She says she stands by her decision, but she feels awful about how hurt he is. And her mom asks how she'd feel if she had said yes. And KB admits that she would have been miserable.
Which is the truth, I think.
And her mom says, as humans, we don't want to hurt people, but what would have hurt him the most is living a lie. And in her confessional, she says she feels bad because she really does love him. Yeah. The thing about this show, like, Greg has never watched it really, he just happened to be passing by for part of it, and I was trying to, like, explain the concept to him, and he was, like, so baffled by the idea that they actually do it at the altar. They
Oh,
say yes or no, that that's the whole concept of the show.
Adam has had the same reaction. He's like, "Wait, what? This is so mean. They
Yeah.
get up there and then they reject the
Well,
person."
it's so mean, and that is why they've historically put so much pressure on the couples to make it all the way to the altar, because once people start breaking up before the altar, like, now I'm looking at this and I'm like, "KB, you should have dumped him before the altar. This was so mean to put Edmund through this." Like, that Joe did it. Joe was like, "I would be miserable."
Right.
So he left the tux fitting and he came home and he was like, "Absolutely not." Eventually, he was like, "Absolutely not." Maybe you shouldn't have taken this man to a wedding where he would have to absorb that kind of rejection in front of everyone who cares about him. But there is a lot of expectation and pressure that that is how the show works. I don't know. This was a rough one. I did not enjoy it.
No, it was very, very brutal.
And then we see Jordan and Megan in their apartment.
So you know you know it's cursed.
I almost was like, "Oh, is it because they decide to stay together but not go to the altar?"
I
Like,
did have that thought for a second, and then you see the look on Megan's face, and you're like, "No."
yeah, because I was like, surely they wouldn't end with not just a breakup, but one that didn't even make it to the wedding, but that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and we know that the bachelor and bachelorette parties happen, like, a night or 2 before the
Yeah, so it's
weddings,
very
so
yeah.
this was clearly either, like, the morning they were supposed to get married or, like, the d like, night before, I mean, or the day before.
Yeah. So they sit on the couch to talk, and she says, "We're like ships in the night. We're just two different people. You're very simple, doing the same things every day, eating the same things. You're a picky eater. I'm an adventurous eater."
"You
He's
are
a picky
very
eater.
simple"
He's
is a
willing to
little
eat.
rough.
He's willing to eat chicken breast and Crystal Light slurry. Like you seem like a picky eater that you won't eat a chicken breast slurry. Jordan is like, so what? We can eat different things. We're not that different as people. I don't think we're actually that different. If I had $1 billion, I would be doing all of those things with you, but I don't. And this seems to be like the fundamental tension that they never get past. And I'm actually sort of glad. I think that we've seen different versions of the class tension, even with like Ali and Anton, and like, the version of the conversation with Megan and Jordan that I've seen many places, which is like, "Oh, he's gonna be emasculated by your money." But the side of this we see is a little different actually, which is, like, she kind of, like, defines him by what he's able to do because of his job and his money.
Yeah,
And
I
he's
think
like, "That's not who I am. I eat simple things because I don't have money. Like, I have a
right.
routine because I have a job because I don't have money." And she's like, "No, that's who you are. You're so simple. Like, it's so simple. It's so cute how simple you are. But like, I'm different. I'm sophisticated." And he's like, "I could be sophisticated. I'm just poor."
Right. Right, I think what we're seeing here is the way that class divides. It's not just about how much money you have in the bank, it's more about the space that you have in your life to
Yeah.
do different things if you are someone with a lot of resources.
And often when we see people with a lot of resources, I think in America, there is this strong culture of like still the Puritan culture of work ethic where even rich people always want to be like true or false. Some rich people have very busy jobs, but like, oh, like grind culture. I work so hard. That's why I'm so successful. I'm always working because I'm motivated. But like wealth enables you to have a lot of leisure that working class people typically don't have.
Right, I also think that when we see that culture that you're describing, often it is, like, very rich men who perhaps have families and don't wanna be around their children during the day, and so are like, I know people whose whole companies have had to go back to the office 5 days a week because the man in charge is like, "I don't wanna be home, so
Right.
none of you get to have flexible schedules," and
Get a
it's like
co-working space
r
then, Richard. Like, it's
right.
not my
They're
problem.
just like, "I wanna be in the office because I feel big and important,
Right.
and I don't have to parent when I'm there," like, so I think that's also a piece of it, and I think that a woman who has a lot of resources is maybe more willing to, like, speak honestly about that leisure time.
I mean, also, she just, like, doesn't literally have a job right now. Like, usually
Right, she's
we
an on
see
right,
more
she's starting a business, she's not.
yeah, but I think that, like, yeah, she has a different lifestyle than the grind culture lifestyle right
Yeah,
now, and yeah, like, it also is the way that you're able to spend your leisure time. Like, you might wanna have a life that has more leisure time and not work as much if you have less income, but then maybe you're not gonna spend your free time going on 5-day weekend trips to Aspen
right.
frequently or eating at Michelin star restaurants, but she has a lot of leisure time and the resources to spend that time, like, eating five-star cuisine and going to luxury resorts, and I think she kind of thinks that that makes her more interesting and sophisticated as a person than Jordan is, and that did kinda get to me. I don't think that she wants to view it that way, but she is still kind of reducing it to, like, "I'm just a more complex person with more interesting tastes than you."
Yes, and I think that is the part of this exchange that upset me because I do think there is something real that she's getting at of, like, you could be with someone and realize, part of this is not only does he not have the resources to have a lot of leisure time, but he also, on top of that, has a child and a child with a chronic illness that requires a lot of care, time, and she has not I don't think she properly, which she admits, grappled with the ways that just any child, and then especially a child that needs that level of care, um, does determine the way that whatever extra time you have is spent. And so it's like twofold. She's sort of grasping at these ways in which they are fundamentally different. And that like really hit my ear weird because I agree with you. Like to
Mm.
tell someone they're simple feels
Yeah.
really insulting.
Yeah.
But I also think there's something real that she's getting at, which is she says, I've never dated somebody with a kid. All the men I've dated up to this point have had a fairly flexible schedule. And we do know that she has dated people who aren't super wealthy, but
Right.
maybe they had that free time.
Well, yeah, she dated a younger guy who wasn't ready for commitment, but you can imagine that maybe he was happy to, like,
Go on vacation
go
and
on
use
vacation
use
with
all of
her
his PTO
or
for
trade
that.
shifts or whatever he's
Right.
doing. Like, if you're young and you're not wealthy, you can often still, because you're working gig jobs or shift work, like there are ways that you can maybe have some flexibility that Jordan definitely can't because
Exactly.
he's trying to grind and get ahead and take care of this kid. He doesn't have any flexibility. And she's like, well, I want to do all these things with a partner. You say I can do them by myself. That's not what I want anymore. I'm ready to do them with a partner. And I didn't realize just how rigid your schedule was in the pods. And he says, "Well, I told you you would have to make sacrifices to be with me. I told you it's not easy. I'm a fucking normal guy wanting to be a good dad and a good provider." And he's like,
Mm,
I think everybody wants to be in your spot." Like, he's
yeah,
so careful. He doesn't, I
I
think, actually
know.
want to make her feel like he is upset that she has more than him. But there are times when he's like, do you
Right, do you
understand that,
understand
like,
that
you're
it's
coming
such
from a
a
place of immense privilege here?
right, like, your situation isn't normal, and most people, no matter if they want that, they will never be able to have it. And
Yeah.
I think that, like, that is the gap that she seems to have.
Yeah, he's like, "Also, you have 5 years on me, like, who knows where I'll be in a few years?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's true. Like, I know that this could be different in a year or 2. You're very easy to love." She says, "I think I initially leaned into opposites attract, but I still have reservations. That's not how I should be feeling going into our wedding." I don't think that Megan she keeps doing this reductionist thing, I think, because she doesn't want to feel like it's just about money. She wants to feel like it's like sort of revealing something deeper than that. But that is what it comes back to. And I think that it's okay to say, like, it's not a flattering look, maybe, but it's okay to say, like, I don't want to resent that this is my life. You don't deserve that. I don't deserve it. I thought that I was ready to be part of your life, but it's
But
clear
I'm
that, like,
not.
my priorities are different than yours.
Yeah, or, like, I thought I was ready to throw myself into parenthood, but turns
Yeah.
out I'm not. Like, I do think that's a really big piece of this as well.
Yeah, I think so too. She starts to cry and apologizes, and he's like, "For what?" She says, "For not showing more compassion for you, for not understanding, not giving you what you need in a fiance." She's like, "I just can't do this. I love you so much, but it doesn't feel right." And
Mhm.
Jordan has, like, initially, he was kind of going back and forth with her, but
He's
by
just
the time he realizes that she's
defeated.
really ending it, he's just kind of staring blankly into space. He
I'm
kind of wipes away a
crying.
tear.
Oh, so sad.
It's really tough, and I like she does understand that it's not fair to him. She does feel bad, but, like, that doesn't make it much easier to hear. She says knowing this today, she didn't wanna put them through going to the altar, and she apologizes for not loving him and accepting him the way he needed her to, and she also thanks him for introducing her to Luca. He says he doesn't have anything else to say, so he's gonna go and get Luca from school. I was like, "That's so real," when you're just
Oh,
like, "All I wanna do is
okay.
crawl into bed and cry, and I have to
Get my kid.
get my kid from school now."
And also probably explain to his kid why, like, a wedding isn't happening.
I
Oh
know.
god. That
I
it
know,
really made me
you might
upset.
never see Megan again. They say goodbye, and she hugs him and says she really does love him. In his confessional, he says that he doesn't think they're that different. He says, "The only thing is just the lifestyle difference. She has enough money to live the rest of her life without ever working, and I don't."
I mean, yeah.
And he says if he had enough money to never really work, they'd be getting married. And he says he regrets introducing her to his son. He says, "I feel like she doesn't love me for me, and that's the closure I need." It
Mm.
seems like they are on good terms now based
Yeah.
on their social behavior. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a gentle enough breakup that he's able to, like, come to a better understanding of it later.
It's been over a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, in, like, the interviews we've seen, at least him give, like, he went on the What's the Reality podcast. He was very, very loving and generous in his descriptions of Megan.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's also been, like, joking back and forth with him on social media. So I yeah, I do. Again, I think that they are, like, the only couple we see that did not go into a breakup with deep resentments. Despite what we see here and the hurt, I do think there was, like, a genuine care and a fondness that was at the center of the relationship, and I think that even if you're hurt by someone with enough time, you can ultimately come around to having, like, a respect and, like, good feelings about them.
Yeah.
So, I'm very curious to see where they are at the reunion.
Me too. She admits in her confessional that in the pod she didn't properly consider what it meant that Jordan was a single father. She didn't really think through the concessions to her life that she'd have to make. And she says, "Maybe I'm just not cut out to be a stepmom. Honestly, this has me questioning if I'm even cut out to be a mom. Maybe I am too caught up in my own life." And she starts to cry. She says all she wanted was to find love in a partner and she'll love Jordan always, but he's not her partner. I think this is one of the things that I really like respect the most about Megan though, who especially off camera I have my questions about, but like I part of me is like sad for her and wants to be like, "No, you can still be a mom." And I do think that's true, but like there is a willingness to like really self-reflect and be like, "What does
Yeah.
this say about me and what my actual priorities are and like what I'm willing to do?" She's not like trying to bullshit herself
No, I
and
think she's genuinely thinking about what happened and how she might have misread a situation and how that might have resulted in hurt that she didn't intend to cause but still was caused. And I also just this moment hit me, like, as someone who just is constantly questioning whether I want to or whether I am cut out to be a parent, and the things that demands you to sacrifice or just change about yourself. And I did want to, like, hug her and be like, if you decide you want to be a parent, you can be. And also, you're not bad if you
yeah,
decide you don't want those things.
yeah. I mean, it's hard maybe to think that you want something and then to be like, maybe I wouldn't be happy if I had it. I hope that she feels comfortable making either choice because I think it was really hard to adjust to being a mom, but that doesn't mean that you can't adjust.
Right.
And it also doesn't mean that you have to be a mom. It did
Exactly.
make me think that like it's interesting that she's the person we see having I think that this is a very common situation with women who are upper middle to upper class, especially, where a lot of it is just opportunity cost.
Mhm.
Like, it's like, I have so much capacity to go on nice vacations and buy myself nice things and go out to brunch.
Do I wanna give that up?
Do I wanna give that up in a way where if you don't have access to all these things, then having a kid doesn't seem to be maybe detracting from all the other fun stuff you would be doing as much? Like, we really see her quite literally being like, "Oh god, I might have to give up going to Aspen whenever I want," and, like, maybe I don't want that enough to be a stepmom or a mom.
I also
I
do
think
think that
that's
there is something very jarring about entering parenthood in the way that this process would demand, right? I think
totally.
there like, she could date someone for a few years, go on some vacations with them, go to nice restaurants, and then make a mutual decision
Right. You're
to
having to,
enter
like you're
parenthood.
having to skip a whole portion of the relationship with your
Right.
partner in a sense, and a lot of people do it, and it's fine, but, like, it's clear that she wants that. She wants the courtship, she wants the fun vacations together, and then you might get to, like, enter parenthood together and experience that shift in identity, and routine if that's what you wanna do. Um,
But yeah, it made me this ending made me want to like really want to talk to both Jordan and Megan. I find them to be two of the most compelling characters on the season, and I am so curious to see at the reunion where they are at now, because a lot of time has passed.
Yeah. So Miley Cyrus's Flowers starts playing because all these
Perfect.
ladies can buy themselves flowers, and
And the
they
men.
must. And the
And the
men.
men.
We get some glimpses of our sad still singles, and we get like a brief final check-in with Edmond here. He rejoins his friends and family at the wedding, and this is when we see his dad tell him, "Just keep on keeping on. I get that she hurt your feelings though." Thank you.
Sage advice.
So the season ends with a montage of all the drama from this season over a clip of an officiant like talking about what goes into love and marriage and like all the everyday moments that fuse together into one shared experience, your story. And it really is like instead of being able to say love is blind, you have to have this thing where it's like, well, they did all have everyday moments that fuse together into one shared experience. The story of this show that you
Yeah.
just watched.
And then it ends with the rings being like dropped into a glass of bubbly.
Yeah, it's really like they were like, "How do we end this if we don't have anyone get married? Let's do a montage and be like, you did watch people date, though."
I'm like, honestly, I don't think there was a better way to end it.
I think you could have just ended it. I don't know.
They want to put a pin in it. They want to be like, no, you learned something
Yes.
from this. It was worth something.
Don't say all those little moments had no meaning. They fused together into one shared experience.
Your story.
Your story. So should we end with our traditional Love is Blind ending, the friends to enemies scale and the should they get
Yes.
married scale?
We must. Disclaimer, as always, this is tongue in cheek. We do not know these people, and therefore this is not that serious. And we only have 6 people.
Yeah. And by this point, I'm such a jumble of feelings about most of these
I
people.
know the problem is at this point, I like feel bad for all of them.
I know. I'm like, I wish you all healing. You are my enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Anton is kind of my enemy, but I do feel sort of bad for how things went for him, so, I've softened a little bit, but I think he's still my enemy.
He's my enemy / frenemy. I can't decide. I just feel so bad for people when they get embarrassed.
I know, that's the problem.
Like I ended this feeling like on the whole just so bad for all of them that I was like,
I know.
can any of them be my enemy? I'm sure they'll go back to being my enemy in the reunion.
Right. Edmond is my frenemy.
Yeah. I have a lot of softness for him.
Yeah. Then this
but-
drop, I was more warm to him than not.
Same.
I was more friendly to him than not. Allie's my frenemy still.
Yeah.
Megan is my frenemy.
Frenemy verging on friend.
I don't know.
If I don't know the things I know about her outside of.
Yeah. Jordan and KB are my friends still.
Yeah, same. No, it's for me, it's like a lot of frenemies and 2 friends.
Yeah. We've dropped a lot of friends and we've dropped a lot of enemies, and we're left with kind of the mushy middle.
Yeah, and I guess we will see what happens when they all return for the reunion. So now, should they get married, or really should they date in real life?
Should they ever speak again?
Out of 10, no.
And no. Yeah, I think I'm a 0 on any of them continuing to date. I would love to see Jordan and Megan like become buddies.
Same. The rest of them should just separate, like be far from each other and just do a knowing nod across the bar.
Yeah.
But Jordan and Megan, I hope they are friends. Like I thought I would have been like they should date, but I think what we saw said felt quite definitive to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and Calibria is literally like, "Thank you for your service, Edmond. I will never forget you," which is something you say when you don't even plan to see someone again.
She's like, "I will hold the memory of you, my stepping stone. Go with God." Like,
yeah, and I think Ali kind of burned that bridge. So yeah, definitely 0s across the board. What a season. No one should be together. No one should date. No one is together. No one is dating.
I am just excited.
Joe already has a girlfriend who's doing media hits on his behalf. Like,
Yeah, we're hearing some rumors swirling about some updates we might get during the reunion. If you want to hear those, go to the Reality Receipts podcast. Again, Ashley and Ricky always out here getting the scoop. So
Yeah.
I am excited. Our reunion episode will be coming out a little bit later next week because we don't get screeners of those episodes. So we'll be watching live with everyone else.
Yeah,
But I am
can't
excited
wait.
to talk about that.
Can't wait to get these messy Denverites back in one room again. And on that note, that is it for this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire.
Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon, and Emma Gray. This episode was edited by John Bahar. Our production assistant is Tatiana Kanice Smith. Our theme music is by Tamar Haviv, and our art is by Aaron Nestor.
If you like the show, please follow us, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. And of course, tell all of your friends about our show.
If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. And you can find our newsletter, Rich Text, on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com.
I'm also on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at EmmaLadyRose.
And I'm at Claire E. Fallon. Special thanks to the team at Odyssey, Eric Donnelly, Kate Rose, Moira Curran, Melissa Wester, and Hillary Ship.
We'll be back soon.
Can you keep